forward.
I just want to say what a great job you're doing. Appreciate it. You know what we can do with the Smarties? You can say, hey, let's make sure to get a Smartie up first. That way we don't.
Blind people. I'm on, but we'll start in a few minutes because Mom has to make announcements. Yeah, we'll do that. Mom has to make announcements first. They're on their way. We got people on their way too.
Rec room, rec room, rec room, rec room. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Good morning. We just want to start off with some announcements to just get the housekeeping items out of the way first so that you guys can go all the way up to the end for discussion. And a lot of people have been asking about class and registration, so I just want to go over a few things. If you are, like we said, we just want everybody to continue your Hebrew journey. If you feel like you are motivated and disciplined to learn on your own, you can continue with the Hebrew for Christians website, or you can purchase the book by John Parsons, Zola's Introduction to Hebrew by John Parsons. The best price we found is at Rainbow Resource. That's also the book we use in the 16-week classes, the beginning class. And let's see. Yeah. Yes. Yes, this is a good idea. This is what it looks like. And again, if you are going to study on your own and you have a Hebrew book at home, it'll get you there. They all get you to the same place pretty much. So we just like this one, but this is the one we use for kids. You could even use that as an adult. It doesn't matter. So yeah, all of this is on our website, but you can also come to the back at the end and you can look at these and it's all on our website, the links where you can purchase them and things like that. Rainbow Resource for this one is the cheapest price. This one you can get at Amazon or through the publisher. And again, that's all on our website too. So I just wanted to say a few things about if you are the kind of, if you're saying, you know what, I like the structure of the class, I really think that would benefit me, I've enjoyed the workshop. The class that we have for this group will be on Tuesdays from 7 to 8, beginning October 31st, and we'll be going over 12 weeks. So normally the class is 16 weeks. We're covered 4 weeks here, and we'll continue with the rest of the course. The 4-day workshop, if you want to go back and review, is on the MNLT YouTube page under the live link, like the live feed. So you can go there to review what's happened. Also, don't forget, if you want the PDFs of Donnie's slides, sign up at the back. We'll send those to you in an email. So we want to say the 12 weeks, the normal cost for our class is $200. But since we covered a quarter of the class here, the class will be only $150 for that. I will say this, we are pretty close to having that class filled up. We're getting pretty close to that point. We really like to keep the classes at 12 or less, just to, to keep the to have opportunity for discussion. So we'll have to figure out what we want to do if this class fills up. So what we're asking people is, if Thursday is a better day for you, our regular Thursday class will start on October 26th, 7 to 8 p.m. That's the 16-week class. So that would be for people who are not part of this workshop. They're signing up for the 16-week class on Thursdays. The cost is $200. If Thursday is a better day for you, or you want to review, you're like, I just want to start from the beginning again. Or if for some reason Thursday works better for you, let us know, and we can put you in this class instead. So we're hoping that between this class and this class, that it'll all work out. If we fill this class up, we'll figure it out. I think we have it half full at this, 3/4 full at this point. So the other thing we wanted to say is our children's classes are also on Thursdays from 4 to 5. Thursdays, teens, 5:30, 6:30 on Thursdays. With that, I want you to know that and the cost is the same for children and teens. However, we do have need-based scholarships. So if you have a financial need, we do have partial scholarships that are from Hebrew for the Nations. But we also have 2 people who have generously offered full scholarships for students, for some need-based students from this workshop. So I think we have 3 left. So if you have a financial need and you would really like to continue in the class, please see us because, like I said, they've just been generously donated by people in this workshop. So I think we have 2 or 3 left. And just let us know. And that can be for this, children's, teens, however you want to do it. So I think that's pretty much it. Ask us, yes. Yeah, all the classes, which she's asking is what would her tech needs be at home? So a computer, I guess you could do it on your phone too. We're pretty low tech in our family, so I use a desktop. But the classes are offered via Zoom. So Elizabeth sends out the Zoom link, and then you don't even have to download Zoom. Zoom will make it look like you have to download it. You don't even have to download it. You just click the link, and it takes you straight to the class. And then she sends the recorded videos out at the end of the class. She'll send that to you. Right now, we're just a startup, so financially, we just don't have the ability to use a platform where you can constantly have the videos there. But what we figured out a way around it where we can send you the video from the class and then it'll stay there and that link will stay live for a week, right, Elizabeth? So if you want to keep that video, you do have to download that onto your computer or onto a flash drive. If you don't do that and you forget, we have backup copies. So we can always send you the video from each class. We also have a discussion board feature to our classes. So you can always type questions, discussions with each other. We encourage that throughout the week. So when you're not in class, to continue with discussion boards. Donnie checks the discussion board several times a week. He'll pop in, answer questions, and things like that. Yeah. Okay, so we have registration forms here. So you can just fill out a registration form, and then we'll just work out payment later. How we can, we'll see you guys, so that's not a problem. And again, remember, if you have children or teens that you want to take the class, you can enroll them and you can take that class with them for free. So there might be more if you have kids and you want them to learn Hebrew, there might be some more economical ways for you to do that because Donnie so strongly feels that if parents are involved in the children's or teens class, the children and teens are going to do better. They just are. Versus if you just put your kid in front of the computer and trust that Donnie's teaching them, they'll still learn, but they're going to learn better and they're going to learn more if the parent's involved. So he gives it to the parents for free. Yeah.
One is if you have a grandchild that is in another state and they want to take Hebrew, can you still take it with them and both be online together?
Yeah, I think so. You would be on different screens. So, yeah, we can talk about that. Normally we try to limit if you're on a family, you have your children, you are on one screen just to keep things easier. But yeah, I'm sure we could figure out a way to do that.
That wouldn't work out, and I wanted something a little less intense than the adult class, and I went to the teens, could I still get it at the $150?
Well, you mean for this first class? Yes, anybody from this workshop will get this class for $150, whether it's the Thursday or the Tuesday. You'll just have to sit through 4 more weeks. And now I will tell you, the teen class is pretty much the same as the adult class. Now, where's Donnie? Do you cover the exact same material? But maybe less? No, it's probably about the same, right? Yeah, so it's the same. The teen and the adult class is the same material. The children's class is more geared towards children, yeah. And children will be 8 to 12, but that's parental discretion. If you have a 13 or 14-year-old that you think would benefit more from being with children, that's fine. Donnie's running a children's class now. We have a 7-year-old in the class, which we thought, we'll see what he can do. And, it's fine. And he's keeping up. We're just blown away at how these children are like sponges. And yeah, really. So, any other questions? Yes, Megan. Yeah, the whole program. So if you went through the whole program, the beginning biblical Hebrew, there's 2 courses: beginning biblical Hebrew 1, and then beginning biblical Hebrew 2. And beginning biblical Hebrew 2 is where you start to, at the end of the first course, you should be able to say any word in Hebrew. You might say it like shalom, shalom. Okay. I mean, that's how I kind of read. That's how slow I have to read, like a child learning to read. By the end of this, but I might not know what I'm reading. So by the end of the first class, I can say every sound and I can figure out what the word is. I might not know what the word means. I might, depending on if Donnie covered it in class. So the goal of the first class is just to get you familiar with the letters, how to say them, the sounds. You'll start to learn meaning, vocabulary, but your fluidity will be slow. By the end of the second class, he works on fluidity, so we're learning to speak faster and building vocabulary and making connections with the scriptures. The third and the fourth class are intermediate biblical Hebrew, and that's where you continue to build fluidity and grammar and vocabulary, but you're adding grammar. So there's 2 grammar courses. Anything else? No? Okay, Elizabeth's got a few things.
Alrighty, I just wanted to take just a few minutes to just give a quick shout out and thanks to the people who have made this workshop possible. Sean Klopfenstein, he's not in here right now, but he has been amazing with the sound and the video, being able to live stream this and put it on YouTube. We're just so grateful. Marcel Murray and Mike Klopfenstein for letting us do this workshop, for utilizing this space. They've just been so gracious, and we're just so grateful that we were able to do this. Also want to give a quick shout out to our team members, the people we have on our team. We have with us today Dr. Tom Haney. He's a member of our board, and he's here with his wife, Rebecca, and our other board members and the president of our board. They weren't able to be here with us at Sukkot this year, but Steve Blevins and his wife, Ashley, most of you might know them. Steve is the president of our board, and Jack Adams and his wife, Debbie, they're now in Tennessee, but some of you might know them as well. They used to attend here. All of the people on our team have just been incredible, again, making this workshop possible, because throughout this journey, they've just been supporting us, encouraging us, guiding us, and the discernment and wisdom has just been incredible, and their friendship is priceless. So we just want to give a thanks to them. Also want to give a thanks to, believe some of you here are our prayer partners. We have an incredible team of prayer partners. We want to give a shout out to Jean Franz. She's just been a huge advocate of our prayer. She's our main, she's our prayer warrior, and we just are so grateful for each and every single one of our prayer partners, that, you know, each and every prayer is just, it's priceless. It's a gift. So I just wanted to just say that and just give thanks to Yah for just his provision and for just all the people that's helped make this possible.
Good morning, guys. Morning. I can't believe it's the end of Sukkot already. I was saying that this morning. Like, I feel like a week ago we were just starting. More than a week ago. It was Saturday when we were last Sabbath when we were here. And now it's 8 days later. 9 days later. But anyway, we made it. And I'm just like so grateful, because every year at Sukkot I get sick. And so far, I'm pretty healthy. Yeah. A lot of people, this has actually probably been one of the best Sukkots I've been at too, because it's been an awesome time. Just with the praise and worship, And what we do here with learning the Hebrew, there's two ways God operates. He operates in spirit and he operates in truth. And this is the truth side, and the Holy Spirit will come in and take the knowledge that you have, the truth that you have, and bring it to life. And so, yeah, today our goal is to wrap up this workshop. The sound sounds kind of weird, by the way. Just saying. But anyway, our hope is to wrap up the workshop and to hopefully spur you on your journey. So real quick, we're going to go over the quiz for yesterday. So this is the adult quiz for 3. What? Oh, we're not doing the slideshow. We're quickly going through this quiz, which is on a Google Doc. It's quiz 3. And if you remember, we learned 3 letters. So far this week, we learned Aleph on the first day. Aleph, Beit, or Veit. Same letter, just a dot determines which one it is. We learned Gimel, we learned Dalet, and Hey. And yesterday we learned 3 letters. We learned Vav, we learned Zayin, and we learned Chet. And we're learning that a lot of these letters tell a story. Alright. So, Elizabeth is just going to hand the bucket of Skittles around to whoever answers these questions. Not Skittles. I'm thinking Skittles. It came out, it was supposed to be Smarties. I tried throwing them at people because I thought that'd be funny, but I almost blinded a few people by taking eyes out. We're not going to do that. Alright. So, for our first question, which of the following is correct about Vav? D. Elizabeth will be paying attention to who's answering. So D, all of the above. Pretty easy question. Vav in its simplest form makes a V sound. Is closely related to the Hebrew word Vav, which means hook or tent peg. And it first appears in Genesis 1:1, connecting heaven and earth. So all of the above. True or false? Vav has a numerical value of 6. Yeah. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav. Vav is number 6. Alright. Alright, which one of these is true? C. Zayin looks like a plow. We learned that. Actually, I'm wrong. It's not a plow. That was Chet. I'm going to have to go back and fix that. Het looks like a plow. Yeah, Zayin looks like a seed. Actually, no, I might be wrong. It looks like a plow. Het is the wall. Yeah, Het is the wall. See, I don't know everything. Zayin is the plowshare because they beat their swords, their Zayin, into plowshares. And Chet is a wall, right? So Zayin is a name for a letter, but it is also a word meaning B, sword. Alright. I am going to rephrase this question. How many chets are in this verse? Keep in mind, it looks a lot like hay, but it's designed very differently. 1. I'm going to highlight it for you. Because remember, all lines, and Mia answered it correctly, all lines on a chet connect. Like I have my top line, then I have the husband and the wife, and Yahweh is the bridge that connects all 3. Hey is kind of like you have your 2 lines, and then there's this line over here, off to the side by itself. Yeah. And so that's how you tell Hey has a line, little separate line. It looks like this. But Het, all 3 lines are connected. hey, I'm going to write it. Tet, Tav. Tav is this one that has the foot at the end right here. That's actually the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And real quick, this is a bonus question. What sound do you think Tav makes? T. And by the way, if you answered the question and you still want that Smartie, raise your hand and Elizabeth will give you a Smartie. Because you all are Smarties. All right. So we learned yesterday that Chayat, a living being, right, is related to which of the Hebrew letters? Which? E, Chet. You can look at the consonants, the Ch, right, the CH. It's not Cha, like in cheese. It's actually that German coughing at the back of the throat, like Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, the composer. So it's the Ch at the end of that, the Y, and the T, and Chayat means living beings, but you take the spelling of Chet, the name of the letter Chet, that has the CH, the Y, and the T, the same consonants. It's the same root. So, what two letters did we learn make up Chet's design? Zayin and Vav. And if you just answered that question, raise your hand. Zayin and Vav. Vav represents the man, Zayin is the woman. And which of the following is true about Chet? All of the above. I had to make it EFGH. Alright. So we're going to go to today's slideshow. So this would be the equivalent of week 4 in your book. And we're finishing what would be lesson 2 if you're going along in this book. But this would be like week 4 of the class. So today we're going to focus on 2 letters. First one is going to be Tet. The second one's going to be Yod. Is it okay if I erase the board? Alright. Alright, I'll let you guys take a picture. Anyone else who wants to take a picture, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm in your way? Oh. You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to erase. If you guys want to take a picture, too bad. I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh. Okay, so our 2 letters that we're learning today are Tet and Yod. I'm going to write them out. Yod is going to be the smallest letter. I have it like this little, little dash up there. Or if you want to write it less fancy, like that. And then Tet is going to be our other letter. We're going to do Tet first, and then we're going to do Yod. We're going to discuss these 2 letters, and by the end of today's class, we'll focus on sound meanings, number meanings, design meanings, and word meanings of these 2 letters. We're going to focus on print, mainly. Keep it in mind, we know in Hebrew you follow the red arrow, so read right to left. So here's all our letters. We learned 10 letters this week. We're doing 9 and 10 today. Tet and Yod. Interesting thing, an interesting side note for you guys. You'll notice that the number value or gematria of each letter is displayed here. So 9 is tet, 10 is yods, then there's no letter that is 11 because the next letter up, the kaf, which makes the k sound, the K sound, right? That is 20, and we go 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and then we start counting by hundreds all the way to top. So Yod is special because we start counting by tens. That is, it's because, it's for a couple of reasons. First of all, to be efficient, because there's 22 Hebrew letters on here, and then in terms of Hebrew, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sophet letters, and that brings you up to 100, and then 1,000 is all. So you have 22 regular letters, 5 Sophet letters, meaning the Sophet letters are the letters when they're at the end. Final form, exactly. So when kaf will be different. Yeah, it'll look like this final form over here. Mem has a final form when it's the last letter of a word. Nun doesn't look like this when it's the last letter. It looks like this when it's the last letter in a word. Same with Pe and Sade. These are 5 letters that change their shape when they're the last letter. So we stop at Tav, and then we start at 500. We'd count Kaf Sophet, Mem Sophet. So Kaf Sophet would be 500. Mem Sophet would be, final Mem would be 600. Final Nun would be 700. Final Pe would be 800. And final Tzade would be 900. And then for 1,000, you remember Aleph is 1, and it's also 1,000. We go back to 1,000, and then we go through all these letters all the way up. It's kind of like an efficiency thing. Yes? They're considered the same letters, they just make a different, they're the same letter, they just make a different sound, and they're given a slightly different name when the dot is present or not. They have the same numerical value and the same word meaning. And depending on where a word is in the sentence, if it begins with a bait, where it is in the sentence, that affects whether that word begins with either the bait or the vait. Or a lot of it is dependent on grammar. So if a word begins with a bait or a vait, it's the same word, like bait or vait, meaning bait or vait, right? Both of which mean house. It's just where the word is in the sentence. Is it in the middle of the sentence? Or is it in the end of the sentence or at the beginning of the sentence that makes that hard bait, a bait or a vait? Am I saying ba or va, depending on where it is in the sentence? That's advanced Hebrew. We don't need to worry about that right now. Yeah, it depends where. And it also depends if there's a prefix added to it. Yeah, it's sometimes hard if it's at the beginning of the word. A lot of it has to do with, is it the direct object too? Also, if it's the direct object, that influences too. Here's your vowels. So let's get down to business. This letter is tet. Already a very interesting shape for a letter. Arguably one of my favorites. So if you remember in the last lesson, so this was yesterday, we talked about Vav and Zayin come together and they build a house. They kind of build a home, right? A man and a woman come together in union, right? And Tet represents what comes from that. Tet, this is what it looks like if you're reading off of a Torah scroll. This is book print. This is how I would write it, right? If I'm writing it manually, you can see the cursive. The numerical value is 9, and the pictograph is a basket which symbolizes good in it. There's something in the basket. So Tet makes the, what sound? T. Makes the T sound. Makes the T sound. And we know that because we looked at the first sound in the letter's name. So like I said, Tet looks like a basket. Baskets contain things. That's their function. So in Hebrew, we're always asking, what is the function? What is the function? Because in English, we like to convey ideas like, I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel whatever, or we express nouns or feelings or whatnot, and we do express action. But the Hebrew mindset is all about function. In understanding verbs, you have an action that a verb performs, right? And then from that verb, you get action, right? So a good example would be debar, which means to speak. From that, I have the Hebrew word midbar, which means desert or wilderness. And what I'm learning is that midbar has the debar in it. You hear the midbar, the debar and midbar. What that's telling you is, what is the connection between a desert of midbar and debar, which means to speak? The function of debar, right? The function of the desert is to be in a place where you can hear God speaking to you, where the distractions of the world are taken away and you hear only God's voice. That's the function of the midbar. So, the function of this letter Tet, the function is it represents holding something in it. It's very interesting that Tet has a numerical value of 9. A full pregnancy is how many months? So, you have the husband and wife coming together in union. God is the one who bridges that gap. And from that, you have a child from that union. That is what Tet represents. It's very interesting that Tet, one of the most common words that begin with a Tet is the Hebrew word tov. We're told in Joseph's story, right? I'm going to go ahead and write out tov in here. We're told that in the story of Joseph, how old was he when he was sold into slavery by his brothers? Joseph's story. It's Genesis 37. How old is he? 17. So, what's this letter? Tet. All right, I'm going to write that down. What's this letter? Vav. All right, Vav. What's this letter? Vet. Okay, vet. Tav, vet, Vav, and vet. Okay. Because there's a dot on top of Vav, Vav is going to become a vowel. It's going to make the O sound. So it's going to spell tov, right? Tov. Okay. What is the numerical value of Tet? 9. Okay. What's the numerical value of Vav? 6. Okay. What's the numerical value of Beit? 2. Okay, so let's add this up. What number do I get? 17. You think, who doesn't like math? Just be honest. Who doesn't like math? Well, I'm sorry. Hebrew combines language arts And it also combines math. You do have to do math in studying Hebrew. Sorry. If you don't like math, that's God's way of saying, we're going to develop some skills here. So, okay. Joseph, we're told, is sold into slavery when he's 17 years old. There's nothing good about it at all. There's nothing tov about it at all. Sometimes baskets seem like they're pretty ugly and they're ratty and they're worn. And I'm handed a basket of what I think is rotten. I'm handed a basket of lemons. Maybe they're not rotten, they're lemons. And I have to make lemonade out of it. Here's the thing, he's handed a basket. He's sold into slavery. His mom dies when he's a little boy, basically. They're just leaving the land of Aram, Padan Aram. They fled Grandpa Laban, and Mom dies. Rachel dies along the way. He's his dad's favorite. Him and his father have a very close relationship. His brothers, everyone he thinks he should trust, turns around and betrays him. He's thrown into a pit, an empty pit in the ground, a well, an empty well. We're told that the well was empty. There was no water in it. The rabbis say that it just like if anyone just knows what the desert is like in that area, you know that the pit was filled with scorpions and serpents. And from a rabbinic perspective, scorpions represent coldness and serpents represent fire. So it represents he's kind of in a place where he feels cold in his faith, but also he's where maybe he doesn't feel cold, but there is temptation to cool down in his devotion to God. And also at the same time, the animal in him is starting to heat up. So you have a cooling down. There's a temptation. I'm not saying he succumbs to it, but there's a temptation to cool down in my love for God and my devotion to God, but also to give in to the darker side. Here's why. When he's sold as a slave into Egypt, here is someone who starts to pay attention to him, Potiphar's wife. She starts to pay attention to him. Because there's a side to him where he's maybe lonely. He's a 17-year-old young man. You know why they take 17, 18-year-old boys and girls and put them in the military? Because the front part of their brain, which determines judgment, rational judgment, has not developed fully yet. So that means if you take a young man, right, who's 17 years old, get his mom to sign for him, and you throw him in the military, the United States government can change that young man's brain and mold him into a robot that's a fighting machine for them. Here's the thing, he's 17 years old. He's ripped from every good influence in his life. He's taken down to the most pagan, immoral society in the ancient world. And he's told as a 17-year-old boy to stand firm. That's his mission, stand firm. You have to, as a 17-year-old boy, stand firm in the face of temptation, in the area where men are probably one of the weakest in their battles. And he said, stand firm. And he manages to stand firm. And God is able to use him in his story, not in his hardships too, because God has a plan for him, not just for him to succeed in Egypt, but also for the whole nation of Israel to be saved and preserved. Sometimes things happen in our lives that are hard and challenge our faith and our devotion to God, but we have to ultimately persist and trust that God is working every situation for his good. Sometimes we don't see what the end looks like. But the fact that Joseph was 17 years old shows that God's hand was already in Joseph's life. In fact, it was a miracle that he was able to come out of Egypt, go through the process of Egypt, come out of his situations in Egypt with his head above the water. It was a miracle that he was able to, but it's a miracle that we'll be able to overcome too at the end of the age, right? We'll overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so, when you think of the Hebrew word tet, it's a basket. And it's very interesting that Joseph speaks to a couple guys in the prison, and one of them has a basket on his head too. I just always thought that was interesting. But tet is a basket. And probably the most common word you'll get with tet is tov. Tov. Good. That in everything there is the goodness of God. And trusting God for that and being thankful to Him every day is a huge part of making it through. Yes, I saw your hand up. They're the same sound. Tav means mark, if you spell it out. Tet represents a basket. So tet, I would spell it like this, the long spelling. I need to erase. That's how I'd spell its name. You might want to double check on me because I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how you spell it. And by the way, guys, I am human too, so verify what the teacher said. Part of becoming a good Hebrew student is go back and check this stuff for yourself. Study it for yourself too. Yes. We can call it Tate. Yeah, because does it have 2 dots? In the spelling, it should have the 2 dots. Thank you. Yes, it is Tate. Show. Yeah, see? Case in point. All right, so another word that begins with Tate is tahor, which is clean. Tahor. Clean. And tameh, which is unclean. And tahor doesn't necessarily mean sin or evil in a sense. It just means it represents a designation for a person who can go into the temple to worship God. See, or it designates the status of an animal. Maybe I can offer this as an altar offering. Or maybe I can't. Right? Or maybe it's something that's fit for me to eat, to put into my temple. Tahor versus tameh is probably the biggest distinction made in the Bible. So tahor, like I said, the biggest way to look at it is tahor means I can go to the temple, I can worship before God. Tameh represents the separation. It usually comes as a result of coming in contact with death in some way or another, or something that causes death. You see, God is all about life. He doesn't want life, anything other than life in His temple. So if you are in the room with someone who dies, there's a period that you have to observe, right? And there's ritual purity for men and women in terms of just like physical purity. That is tied to something that is a part of them dying from a biblical perspective. It's very interesting. One of the biggest mysteries is the story of the red heifer in the Bible. The story of the red heifer is an animal that we burn up, and its ashes make everyone tahor. So we sprinkle the priests with water that contain the ashes of the red heifer. But everyone who burned up the red heifer or slaughtered it to make those ashes or collected those ashes becomes tameh. Why is that? I can't answer that for you. Representation of Yeshua, but why does it make you unclean if you're the priest that slaughtered the red heifer or burned the ashes? Because of death, but then those ashes turn around and I sprinkle it on the next new high priest and it makes him clean. Or that's a good example. So it mixes with the Ma'im Chaim, the living water, and the ashes of the old dead life are brought back to life. I like where that's going. Yes. Or you could look at it this way. Who really killed Yeshua? We put him there because of our uncleanness. That's another way of looking at it. He chose to be there. There's a verse, I'm going to have to I'll look it up, and maybe I'll share it with you guys later, if I see any of you guys. But there's a verse in Isaiah where God says He makes Himself unclean for His people. I've soiled my garments for my people. And it ties to the fact that when a priest can't go into, a high priest can't even make himself impure by burying a dead sister. But in reality, what it's saying is God's dead, deceased sister is the nation of Israel. So God makes Himself unclean for His people. That's one way of looking at that too. So, like I said, I'm not going to solve the mystery of Tahor and Tameh. My main focus on bringing the concept up between those two words is to get that journey sparked for you. Yes?
So, what is the natural progression to the system? Is first learning the alphabet, then the vowels, and then starting to make simple vocabulary, and does for the main does the website that you guys link to, does that go through that natural progression, or how does that work?
It does go through that vowels. So the adults class will go through letters, vowels, and I also try to incorporate words while you're learning your letters and vowels. You may not know what those Hebrew letters are, but you're going to be seeing the English transliteration, and that vocabulary is going to get into you. So that when you know what those letters are and know what all those vowels are in your own journey, you will recognize it when you're reading it in the Hebrew. This is kind of going back to how children learn how to read and write. Children learn to speak English first, and then they... Absolutely. And actually in the land of Israel, they just have the consonants, and they do that naturally. Yes? It's living water. It would have been from that spring. Yeah. All right, so writing tet, I would start in the corner, and I'd go up, then down, and around, then up, and we're done. So I'm working clockwise, really, what I'm doing when writing tet. I'm working clockwise. I'm starting at 12 o'clock. I kind of make a diagonal up, then I go straight down, then I go across, then back up again. And you can see how it kind of looks like a basket with a lid. All right, here's our final letter. Yay, our final letter. It's not the final letter in the Hebrew alphabet. The other 12 letters are for you to go learn on your own, or if you want to take our class. We simply ran out of time. And this letter is the smallest letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's Yod. When Yeshua said not one jot or tittle will be removed from the Torah, he was talking about one jot. He's saying not one Yod will be removed from the Torah. Not even the smallest letter in the Torah will be removed. Not one jot. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappeared, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen, by any means will disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. So jots and tittles on one level represent the small letters. Tittles represent those crowns, the tagin, that stand on the letters on the Torah scroll. We talked about how Zion has crowns yesterday. It says not one of those will be removed. It also refers to big and small letters. In Hebrew, when you're looking at the Hebrew text, there are big letters where I'll write a word in Hebrew, but on the Torah scroll, one letter will be bigger or smaller than the rest of them. And we're going to talk about one today in studying our last letter. Like you can see how this bait is bigger than the rest of the letters in the sentence, right? I'm talking about the Masoretic text. That doesn't, because Septuagint is Greek. But the Masoretic, which is the standard text, has all these jots and tittles. And the rules of the scribes, the Jewish scribes in preserving Torah, is that every Torah scroll from Mount Sinai, as the Jewish people, it is their responsibility to preserve the text in each copy. There might be slight changes, but we keep those changes to a minimum. And when I write a Torah scroll, a new Torah scroll, I copy an old one faithfully as I can. I follow it to the T. There are structures, there's orders, and there's a system by which the scribes operate. And you can't deviate from that. If the letter is huge, I write it huge. If the letter is smaller than the rest of the letters, because it's a small letter in comparison to every other letter in the word, or if there's a missing letter, or if the letters have dots on top of them, but no one knows what those dots mean, I still have to copy those dots as I see it. I don't change the text. I don't add from Torah, and I don't take away from Torah. Yes?
My understanding is that, I think what we call the block of flame letters and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They came out of Babylon. Pre-Babylon, were those dots and tittles still there? So when they came from Sinai, or we don't know?
We don't know for sure, but we can guess for the most part they were pretty close. Because we don't change the text. The text doesn't get changed. Yeah. That would be, and that also would be a good question for Eddie Chumney when he comes here to pick his brain. Because he talks about the Dead Sea Scrolls and he also goes into the ancient culture too. But for the Jewish people, Judah, our brother, their rules as scribes, if you look at their rules, there's a system we follow. We don't deviate from the system. It's the Word of God. We show respect for it. So Yod is the 10th letter. It has a numerical value of 10. Pictograph. What does that pictograph kind of look like up there? An outstretched arm. That's a good answer. We'll talk about that in a minute. Book print, manual print, cursive. What it looks like on a Torah scroll to modern book type. Difference in time. A lot of it is difference in time. And so it's a structure of time. So the pictograph would have come first. And as the people evolved, as their language slowly changes, they moved to Katav Ivri. Pictograph also reflects the Phoenician culture. It reflects the other cultures around Israel because they all had very similar paleo. Like you look at the Aramaic, you look at the other nations around, especially the Phoenicians who were traders, like traders by meaning like merchants of ships. They followed the pictograph, and the Katav Ivri, which is very similar, followed that too. Yes. It's basically ancient Hebrew. It's Katav means writing, Ivri means Hebrew. That is a Torah scroll font. That's a Torah scroll font. Yeah. So Yod makes the Y sound as in yoke. Yeah. Yoke. That is at its most basic form. So, someone said it looks like a hand. So, the next Hebrew letter that comes after this word is called Kaf. Kaf is the palm of the hand, but a Yod or a Yod is my forearm. When it talks about the outstretched arm of God, right? It's talking about the forearm, the Yod, the Yod. This is the Yod. So your Kaf in Hebrew is going to be your palm, and then your Yod is going to be this thing right here. Yod has a numerical value of 10. If you count how many times it says in the Hebrew text, in Genesis 1, it says Vayomer. Vayomer Elohim. Right? And God said, let there be light. Or let there be stars. Or let us make man in our own image. They're called the 10 acts of creation. It shows up, Vayomer, and God said, shows up 10 times. God created the world using 10 acts of speech. God gave Abraham 10 tests. You count out the tests that Abraham faced in his lifetime, that's 10 tests. He gave 10 commandments to Israel on Mount Sinai. 10 represents divinity in terms of God. It's the first letter in God's name, Yud He Vav He, Yahweh. It also represents the completion of an order. It's kind of interesting because every letter from here on out would count by tens. So the next letter, which would be 20, encapsulates the idea of 2 in a bigger divine sense. Then the letter after that, which is 30, captures the idea of 3 in a divine sense. It's divine complete order meaning. Yod takes the Aleph and represents the divine complete order of it. Aleph represented heaven and earth coming together, and that bridge is Yahweh coming down. It's the Yod coming down. The Yod and the Yod coming together by means of the Vav. So, here's some words that begin with the Yod. You guys can write this down real quick. Yom, which means day, begins with the Yod. Yisrael, it would be kind of like Yisrael. It's almost like Israel and Yisrael. It's almost a combining. Israel. Yovel, which is Jubilee, and Yonah, which is dove. These are words to add to your vocabulary. And all of which begin with a Yod.
When I'm sure, praise when I'm down. I pray when I'm numbered. surrounded. Johnny's tasting some water, my enemies drowning.
It's almost
As
time.
long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to praise the Lord. Oh, my soul, praise.
We lost track of time. Are we out of time? Nah, what time? We have 10 minutes? Sure. They're just practicing? Oh. I'm going to go back. I was like, oh, crud, we're out of time. I really flapped my jaw today. Go back? All right, Rosa, I'll go back. The next one back? No. All right, I'll let you guys write that down a little quick. Then we're going to get into another, what I call a fundamental why I like studying Hebrew. We'll get into that in a minute. I'm going to erase my board for that, if we have enough time. And then I want to have a few minutes of discussion. All right, are you guys good, or are you still writing? Who's still writing? That's okay. Take your time. But these are words, like what I said earlier and yesterday and the day before. Write these down, because as you're going through the scriptures and you're starting to read, once you learn all the letters and you learn how to pronounce them, how to sound them out, you're going to be reading them, and you're going to be reading them really slow, and you'll stumble upon a word, and you'll be like, hey, I know that word. And if you don't know the word, add it to the vocabulary list. Have a vocabulary list for memorization. Yeah. Yeah, because this is a real quick. If you see a dot on top of a vav, this is what I actually have Steve's grandkids in the children's class we're going through right now. And what I told them, and I taught them a neat, cool trick that we learned. We learned when you have the letter vav, vav by itself makes the v sound. But when I add a dot on top of a vav, it becomes a vowel. It's almost like the vav is looking up like, oh, look at that. That looks like really good. And so it says, oh, because it's looking up like, oh. And then it takes the dot and it eats it, and the dot goes to its belly, and it has a belly ache, so it says, ooh. So the dot goes from then on top, oh, and then it eats it, and it's in its belly, and it's like, ooh, I have a stomach ache. That helps them remember, and it was a good laugh. But yeah. Now they remembered their letters, and they remembered that. Okay. I want to talk about this because this is really quick and cool. Because if you're looking, how do I introduce this? I'm thinking about it. In the physical world, we have 6 minutes. In the physical world, the building blocks of creation are atoms. Right? When I breathe in, the building blocks of the air I'm breathing in is oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, maybe there's phosphorus with this table, or I don't know the elements. When I plant tomatoes, right, I want there to be nutrients in the soil, and that builds the tomato that I'm eating, and there's these atoms which build the world around me. From a Hebrew standpoint, words have power. So when God spoke the world into existence, those words had power because in the spiritual world, the words that God said were in Hebrew, And those building blocks, those spiritual atoms, were the Hebrew letters. Right? I spell it, the Hebrew word, I say in the Hebrew, Yonah, which is dove, and in the spiritual world, the Yod and the Vav and the Nun and the Hey build the dove just by speaking it. Words we say have power. So, in the Hebrew language is the foundation of the world. It's God's language. It's the holy language we're restoring. In the spiritual world, the building blocks, the atoms of the universe in the spiritual world, not necessarily the physical world, are the Hebrew letters themselves. So I take the word day, yom. That's a yud. When I say yom in Hebrew, the foundation of what I'm saying are the Hebrew letters. Those are the elements. That's the carbon, that's the oxygen, the nitrogen of what I'm saying. Right? Ruach, right, which means wind. The Hebrew letters that build that word, that's the fabric that in the spiritual world. We're told that God made this world with the Hebrew letter. Genesis 2:4. He says, if you read it, it says up there, I'm going to read it, it's here at the bottom. Ele toldot, these are the generations, chashamayim v'cha'aretz, of the heavens and the earth, bechibaram, and the day he made them. Bechibaram means when he made them. And you'll notice something about a letter I just wrote. Bechibaram. So when you remember that scribes preserve these letters. Scribes preserve these letters for a reason. So we have to ask ourselves, what does it mean? Means that you could take this when he made them, right? But you could also say the bait means in or with a hey, he made them. That's what it's also saying in the Hebrew. You can say that and it will make complete sense, grammatical sense. What did he make? In Genesis 2:4, what's he talking about what he made? The universe, heavens and earth. He made this world with a hay. It's very interesting in Isaiah 26 verse 4, it says, trust in Hashem forever, for in Yah, Hashem is everlasting strength. You could also say, those same words also say, tzur, means sustains. Ki ba Yah, with Yah. So here's the literal grammar. For with Yah, Yahweh sustains the worlds. With his own name, Yahweh sustains the worlds. So there are two worlds. Olamim means two worlds. It's plural, but it's two. It's time out. I'll finish the thought though. There's two worlds. There's one, this world here that we're living in. And then there's the world to come. And it is in both of these worlds that God's name is revealed to us. God made this world with a hay. A little hay. We don't have the full picture of God's name. We don't have the full picture of his nature yet. But one day in the world to come, when we're sitting before the throne of God, and we see God sitting on the throne and Yeshua at the right hand, it will all make sense. And that is what Genesis 2:4 in the Hebrew text is telling us. The other Yod is in the world to come waiting for us. All right. With that said, we ran out of time. Mom's got a few announcements.
I do have a...
Just use my speaker.
Okay.
Use my speaker real quick.
Okay, just real quick. Our Tuesday at 7 o'clock class is full. So what we're going to do is if you already registered, so we're going to open up a 5:30 on Tuesday time slot. So 5:30 on Tuesday, 7 o'clock on Tuesday. Those are 12-week classes. 7 o'clock on Thursday will be the 16-week class. It's all the same price for this group. So if you already registered and we have your registration form and either 5:30 on Tuesdays or 7 o'clock on Thursday works better for you, we'll switch you over and then we'll just keep a running tab. So just wanted to let you guys know that. Okay.